Tonight, as you settle into rest, I want to invite you into a journey that takes place not in the daylight, but in the quiet, hidden workshop of your mind. We ask a question that has lingered in science, in psychology, and in philosophy. Can you reprogram your habits while you sleep? Your body already knows how to relax, but your mind, it often races. It clings to old routines. It replays conversations. It whispers about the tasks undone. It tells you stories about who you've been and who you fear you might always be. And sometimes, as you lie here in the dark, you may feel as though change is impossible, that the grooves of your habits are too deep, that the story of your life is already written. But tonight, I want you to feel something different, a quiet truth that hums beneath the noise, a truth that is not forceful, not urgent, but steady, like a heartbeat. And that truth is this: your brain is not fixed. It is alive. It is flexible. It is ever-changing. This gift has a name: neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means your brain is not carved in stone. It is carved in living tissue. And living tissue reshapes itself, moment by moment. Every thought leaves a trace. Every choice lays down a pathway. Every dream sketches a new possibility. Even as you rest now, your brain is quietly at work, strengthening, rewiring, reshaping. It listens, it remembers, it practices. So what if, tonight, you gave it something new to practice? What if you offered your brain not just the same old doubts, but a fresh blueprint? What if your sleep became more than rest? What if it became transformation? Tonight, together, we will explore this hidden power. We will wander into the science of how your brain rewires itself. We will reflect on why habits can feel so heavy, so stubborn, and yet so breakable. We will discover how sleep itself can become a doorway into change. As you listen, there is nothing you need to do, no effort to make, no pressure to perform. Simply let the words wash over you like waves. Let them drift in and out of your awareness, as softly as a lullaby. Because tonight is not about pushing harder. It is not about forcing change. It is about remembering that change is already written into the biology of your being. Your brain was designed to grow. Your brain was designed to learn. Your brain was designed to transform. So, as your body grows heavier and your mind grows lighter, let yourself be carried into the quiet science of your own becoming, carried into the mystery of neuroplasticity, carried into the possibility that every night you sleep, you are already reshaping yourself. And as we move forward together, remember this simple invitation: to soften, to listen, to dream, and to trust that the journey has already begun. Imagine a path through a forest. The more you walk it, the clearer it becomes. Grass flattens, soil hardens. The trail becomes easy to follow. Your brain works the same way. Each habit is a path of neurons, fired again and again until it becomes automatic. This is why your hand reaches for the phone without thinking, why you pour coffee the same way each morning, why certain routines feel impossible to break. It is not weakness, it is efficiency. Your brain conserves energy by creating shortcuts. And yet, just because the path is familiar, does not mean you cannot choose a new trail. To break a habit is to carve a fresh path through the forest. At first, it feels awkward. Your mind resists, but with the repetition, the new trail becomes clearer, smoother, easier. The old trail, the old habit grows faint, and slowly, the new one becomes second nature. Now picture yourself standing at the entrance of this forest. Before you stretch dozens of trails. Some are wide and well worn. They almost pull you forward because you've traveled them so often. Others are faint, hardly visible at all, hidden beneath leaves and brush. The wide trails are your habits, your automatic patterns. The small ones are the possibilities you have not yet practiced. Each time you choose to follow the familiar path, it becomes a little wider. The soil becomes firmer. The branches bend away to make it smoother still. Your brain does this to save you energy, because energy is precious, because survival once depended on efficiency. When you learned to walk as a child, your brain spent enormous energy to master it. But once it became a habit, you no longer had to think. Your feet moved on their own. This is the gift of the brain, automation, the ability to hand routine tasks to the subconscious. But here is the challenge. The brain cannot tell the difference between a habit that helps you and one that harms you. It only knows repetition. If you repeat worry, it learns worry. If you repeat distraction, it learns distraction. If you repeat patience or kindness or presence, it learns those too. The forest does not judge which trail you walk. It only remembers which ones you travel most. Perhaps you have tried to stop checking your phone in the middle of the night, or to resist the comfort of sugar when you feel low, or to stop criticizing yourself in your own thoughts. You may have wondered, why does it feel so impossible? The answer is not that you are weak. It is that your brain is designed to protect the familiar. Familiarity feels safe, even when it is uncomfortable. Deep in your brain, structures like the basal ganglia and amygdala reinforce routines. They whisper, "This is what we've always done. This is what we know. This must be safe." That is why habits feel sticky. Your brain resists the new because the new requires energy and risk. Imagine trying to push your way through a dense part of the forest where no trail exists. The branches scratch against your arms. The roots catch your feet. It feels slow, awkward, unnatural. This is what change feels like at first. And so, your brain tempts you back onto the easy trail, the familiar path, not because it wants to sabotage you, but because it thinks it is protecting you. Think of the times you have found yourself repeating a habit you swore you had left behind. The late night scrolling, the skipped workout, the same old argument. In those moments, it may feel as if your conscious mind disappears and you are carried forward on the autopilot. That is because your habits live not in the thinking brain, but in the automatic brain. Neuroscientists sometimes call this the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. A cue appears, stress, boredom, a certain time of day. A routine follows, reaching for the phone, opening the fridge, biting your nails, and then comes the reward. A brief relief, a small pleasure, a fleeting comfort. The loop closes, and each time it repeats, it grows stronger. The forest path widens. The trail becomes impossible not to see, and soon you feel as if you never even chose it. It just happened. But here is the secret. You did choose it once, and that means you can choose again. The first time you try to build a new habit, your brain sends up resistance. This feels wrong. This feels tiring. This feels like effort. This is why the first day of change often feels the hardest, because you are cutting a new path through the forest, and that is work. But the resistance is not a sign that you cannot change. It is proof that you are changing. It is the forest noticing your footsteps where there were none before. Over time, that faint line in the grass grows clearer. With each repetition, the branches move aside, and slowly, what once felt impossible becomes second nature. The old trail still exists, but it grows over with weeds. It is still there if you choose it, but it no longer calls to you with the same force. Think of driving a car. At first, it feels overwhelming. So many things to remember. Mirrors, signals, pedals, lanes. Your whole brain is lit up with effort. But after weeks or months, it becomes automatic. You find yourself arriving at a destination with little memory of the drive itself. The same is true for brushing your teeth, for tying your shoes, for the way you lock your door at night. Habits become invisible, not because they vanish, but because they sink beneath awareness. And this invisibility is what makes them powerful, for better and for worse. The same mechanism that holds you in old patterns is the very mechanism that can free you. Neuroplasticity does not decide which habits you keep. It only strengthens what you repeat. This means that every moment you choose a different path, you are teaching your brain something new. You may not see it right away, but underneath, in the living tissue, the forest is listening. It is recording. It is learning. Habits are sticky, but they are not eternal. They are flexible. They can bend, they can break, they can transform, and so can you. The philosopher William James once wrote that human beings are bundles of habits. He believed our freedom lies in learning to shape them consciously. Imagine if you were only the sum of your old trails. If no new path could ever be carved, life would feel like a prison. But instead, you are a landscape, a forest in motion, a mind that is alive with possibility. Every choice you make, even the smallest one, is another footprint on the soil, and the forest remembers. So tonight, as you rest, imagine your brain as that forest. See the well-worn paths of your old routines. Notice how easy they are to follow. Notice how natural they feel. And now, see the faint outlines of new trails. Perhaps they are overgrown, perhaps they are hard to see, but they are there, waiting. With each step, with each repetition, they grow clearer. And in time, the old paths fade, and the new ones become your home. So remember this truth. Habits feel hard to break, not because you are weak, but because your brain is strong. It is efficient. It is protective. And with the same strength it used to hold you in the past, it can carry you into the future. When night falls, you might believe your brain simply powers down. But in truth, the night is alive with activity. Beneath the stillness of your breathing, vast networks of light flicker. Electrical waves rise and fall like ocean tides, washing through the quiet architecture of your mind. Every heartbeat, every sigh, every dream is part of this invisible choreography. Your body surrenders to gravity, but your brain begins its shift. It becomes the night shift craftsman, the silent sculptor working behind the curtain of consciousness. In the first moments of sleep, you hover between worlds. Your senses loosen their grip on the outer world and turn inward. Neurons that spent the day buzzing with stimulation begin to speak a different language, slower, more rhythmic, like a lullaby in electric form. As you drift deeper, brain waves lengthen into smooth, rolling hills of delta activity. These waves travel through the cortex like a slow-moving tide, carrying the fragments of your day, moments, impressions, lessons, emotions, gathering them, sorting them, deciding what to keep. Some memories are strengthened, etched more deeply. Others are quietly released, dissolved into nothing. Your mind, without you knowing, becomes the editor of your life story, deciding which sentences remain and which are erased from the page. Sleep is not a single state. It is a cycle, a spiral that carries you through distinct phases. Light sleep welcomes you first, a gentle handshake between waking and dreaming. Then deep sleep, the restorative valley where growth and repair occur. And later, REM, the dream stage, where imagination paints with no restraint. Each phase has a purpose. Deep sleep rebuilds the body and cleans the mind, sweeping away toxins and excess noise. REM replays experiences in vivid symbols, turning emotion into meaning. Your brain revisits what mattered most during the day, not as facts, but as feelings. That conversation that lingered in your chest, the task you didn't finish, the new idea that excited you, all of them reappear here, transformed into imagery and sensation. Imagine a craftsman in a dimly lit workshop, surrounded by tools, carefully shaping, sanding, and joining pieces together until the structure stands solid. This is what your brain does each night. Synapses, the connections between neurons, strengthen or weaken, depending on what you practiced, what you focused on, what you valued. If you studied kindness, you will be more fluent in kindness tomorrow. If you rehearse self-doubt, you will find it easier to believe again. Neuroplasticity never sleeps. It works with whatever material you provide, and so the night becomes both mirror and mold. It reflects who you've been during the day and molds who you will become tomorrow. Have you ever noticed that when you learn something new, a melody on a piano, a sequence of dance steps, even a conversation in a foreign language, it feels clearer after a night's rest? That's because your sleeping mind has been rehearsing it for you. Deep within, patterns of neurons replay in miniature. They repeat the same sequences that were active while you practiced. Your brain performs tiny reruns of the day's experiences, reinforcing useful circuits, pruning the rest. It is as though every night you hand your brain a script, and it spends the dark hours memorizing its lines. By morning, it knows them better. Now imagine what happens when the script you hand it is not a skill, but a belief. When the script says, "I am not enough," when it says, "Change is impossible," when it whispers, "This is just who I am," your brain, faithful and neutral, will rehearse those lines too. It doesn't judge the content. It only strengthens what is repeated. But you can hand it a new script. You can choose what it practices. You can offer it words that soothe rather than scar. I am learning. I am evolving. I am safe in change. I am growing every time I rest. These are not just affirmations. They are neurological instructions. When repeated softly before sleep, they prime networks of attention and emotion. They mark the circuits you want strengthened in the night rehearsal. This is how transformation begins quietly, not through force, but through gentle repetition paired with rest. As you sleep, glial cells, the caretakers of your nervous system, begin to sweep. They flush away metabolic waste, clearing space for clarity. It is as if janitors walk through the corridors of your mind, turning off unnecessary lights, dusting the shelves of memory, and leaving only what is essential. In this way, sleep becomes the reset button for consciousness. Without it, thoughts clog, emotions spill, and perception dulls. But with it, every morning feels like a fresh page. This cleaning process does more than refresh. It frees up energy for learning. It allows neuroplasticity to operate more efficiently, trimming old branches so that new growth can flourish. Sleep is also where emotions are digested. Dreams are the psyche's way of chewing on the day's experience. When something feels unfinished, an argument, a hope, a fear, the dreaming brain revisits it, often disguised in metaphor. You may dream of running through endless hallways, trying to find a door, or standing in front of an audience without words to speak, or simply floating, untethered, free. These images are emotional equations solving themselves. They help integrate what waking logic cannot, and this too shapes habit, because emotions are the glue that binds memories together. A fearful memory rehearsed in sleep becomes avoidance. A hopeful one becomes motivation. Thus, every night, your emotional brain, centered in the amygdala and hippocampus, fine-tunes its responses. It decides what you will fear, what you will seek, what you will love a little more tomorrow. It's easy to think change requires effort. That transformation only happens through action, discipline, and struggle. But nature reminds us otherwise. A seed does not strain to sprout. It rests in darkness until conditions call it forth. Your brain is the same. Sleep is the soil. Rest is the moisture. Thoughts are the seeds you plant. Leave them there overnight, and quietly, unseen, they begin to take root. When you awaken, you may not feel it immediately, but over nights, over weeks, over months, something shifts. You respond differently. You feel lighter, less reactive, more centered. That is the handiwork of your hidden workshop. Here lies the secret. If you feed your brain the right patterns, the right affirmations, the right identity before sleep, you can guide what it rehearses. Imagine whispering to your mind as you drift. Tonight, practice calm. Tonight, remember patience. Tonight, strengthen the pathways of joy. Your brain will listen. It will run the simulation again and again while you rest. By morning, the connections are slightly stronger. The pattern, slightly more natural. The emotion, slightly more accessible. One night seems small, but small becomes significant when repeated. Every repetition tells the craftsman what design to finish, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, you change. Dreams are not random. They are the sketches your subconscious drafts for tomorrow. When you visualize new possibilities, your brain tests them in the safety of imagination. It asks, how would this feel? Could this work? Each dream becomes a prototype. Some are kept, some are discarded, but all contribute to your evolution. This is why ancient cultures saw dreams as sacred teachers, and why modern neuroscience now recognizes them as vital to emotional and cognitive growth. In dreams, the barriers of identity dissolve. You can be anything, anyone, anywhere. And that fluidity is what allows the brain to make new connections, to find creative solutions that waking logic would never see. So, sleep is not your enemy when you are trying to change. It is your partner. It is your ally in transformation. Every time you close your eyes, you enter a laboratory built by nature itself. The chemicals of learning mix with the electricity of emotion. Ideas blend, separate, recombine. And when you awaken, the experiment continues in daylight. This partnership asks for only one thing: trust. Trust that doing less can sometimes achieve more. Trust that silence can teach. Trust that letting go is a kind of action. As you prepare to drift deeper into this night, imagine your mind as a vast ocean. Thoughts rise like gentle waves, then fall back into stillness. Each wave leaves behind a trace of energy that your brain will collect and refine. Let the tide carry away what you no longer need: the noise, the judgment, the repetition of doubt. Let it return to you only what is useful: clarity, calm, curiosity. You don't have to control this process. You only have to allow it. The same way a tree trusts the night to keep breathing for it, you can trust your brain to do the work while you rest. Sleep is not just rest. It is rehearsal. It is memory. It is transformation. And the workshop of your brain is open every night, ready to sculpt the next version of you, quietly, faithfully, invisibly. So as you move deeper into rest, remember, your brain is listening. It is rehearsing. It is learning the new story you are ready to live. Feed it love. Feed it possibility. Feed it peace. Because whatever you offer tonight will be the material your dreams build from. And when morning light touches your eyes, you will awaken carrying the quiet craftsmanship of change. Habits are not just actions. They are not mere routines or repetitions you do on autopilot. They are living reflections of what you believe about yourself. Every habit you repeat is a vote, a subtle, unconscious whisper confirming an identity you've accepted. If you believe, I am someone who procrastinates, your mind will search for evidence to make it true. It will gently and sometimes insistently pull you back into alignment with that belief. If you believe, I am someone who shows up on time, your brain will quietly arrange your thoughts and energy to make that belief real. Because the human brain loves consistency, it craves coherence, and it will do whatever it must to make your inner story match your outer behavior. This is the hidden truth of transformation. That change begins not with what you do, but with what you believe you are capable of becoming. When psychologists study habits, they often talk about cues and rewards, triggers and loops. But beneath all of those mechanics is something more profound: your sense of self. Your identity acts like the soil from which all habits grow. If the soil is rich with self-trust, your habits bloom easily. If the soil is filled with doubt or shame, the roots struggle to take hold. And yet, soil can be replenished. Beliefs can be rewritten. The self can evolve. This is what neuroscientists call plasticity, the ability of the brain to reshape itself, to adapt, to rewrite old neural codes. Every time you think a thought, it fires a network of neurons. Every time you repeat that thought, those connections strengthen, until one day they become the default, the path of least resistance. But here's the beauty. Just as you once built those pathways, you can build new ones. The self you call me is not fixed. It is a living pattern, an ongoing conversation between your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. It changes with each new experience. It softens with compassion. It expands with awareness. When you fall asleep at night, your mind drifts between the known and the unknown. The conscious loosens its grip, and the subconscious, that vast inner landscape, begins to whisper its stories. It replays moments of the day. It organizes them, tests them, asks quietly, is this who we are? And that's why sleep is such a powerful bridge between psychology and biology. Because while you rest, your brain is literally deciding which patterns to keep and which to let fade. Imagine that. Each night, the architecture of your mind is being renovated, walls moved, memories filed, beliefs reinforced or quietly dismantled, and you have the ability to influence that process, not through control or effort, but through gentle suggestion. Through the images, the emotions, and the affirmations you feed yourself before sleep. What you whisper to yourself at night becomes the blueprint of your becoming. Those small, tender sentences, I am healing, I am learning, I am enough, are not empty affirmations. They are instructions to your subconscious. When you fall asleep repeating a truth you want to believe, your brain takes it seriously. It rehearses it. It plays with it in dreams. And if you stay consistent, your nervous system begins to integrate it into who you are. It's not magic. It's neuroplasticity paired with imagination. It's the science of suggestion. Let's slow this down and feel it in real time. Think back to a habit you've tried to change. Maybe it's waking earlier. Maybe it's staying calm in conflict. Maybe it's believing you're worthy of love. Notice how each of those goals is tied not just to what you do, but to what you believe about yourself. When you say, "I want to wake earlier," the mind underneath might whisper, "But you're not disciplined." When you say, "I want to stay calm," the echo might answer, "You've always been reactive." When you say, "I want to be loved," a quiet voice might remind you of every moment you felt unworthy. Those whispers are not your truth. They are neural echoes, patterns built over years, formed by experience, repetition, and emotion. And yet, every echo can fade, every voice can soften, every pattern can change. That's the psychology of transformation. When awareness meets compassion and belief meets biology. You see, the brain does not distinguish sharply between imagination and reality. It responds to both with equal attention. When you visualize yourself acting differently, neurons fire in the same regions as if you were physically performing the act. That is why athletes practice mental rehearsal. That is why musicians hear the melody in their minds before they play it. That is why dreamers create entire worlds that feel tangible while they sleep. So when you imagine yourself becoming more disciplined, more peaceful, more alive, your brain begins to build that version of you. It lays down the wiring for it. It rehearses it. It practices it in the theater of your mind. And the more emotion you bring to that image, the more your body feels the truth of it, the faster those circuits strengthen. Emotion is the fertilizer of neuroplasticity. It tells your brain, pay attention, this matters. This is why identity-based change is so powerful, because instead of saying, "I'm trying to quit," you say, "I'm becoming someone who no longer needs it." Instead of saying, "I want to stop procrastinating," you say, "I am someone who honors time." And each night before sleep, when your mind is soft and suggestible, you repeat the identity you are growing into, not as wishful thinking, but as quiet truth, because the brain learns by repetition and emotion. It does not respond to shame. It does not respond to punishment. It responds to gentle consistency. It responds to what you believe is safe. There is a moment just before you drift into sleep when your brainwaves slow into the alpha and theta range. In this space, the gates between the conscious and subconscious open wide. Thoughts become images. Images become sensations, and suggestions become seeds. This is the ideal moment to plant the idea of who you are becoming. You might whisper softly, "I am learning to trust myself," or "I am becoming calm and grounded," or perhaps, "I am creating a new rhythm that supports the life I desire." No need to force belief. Just repeat. Allow the words to settle in like soft music. As you drift off, your brain begins to integrate those patterns. During REM sleep, it will replay the emotional tone of those thoughts. It will test them against your existing networks, and with a repetition, it will begin to favor them, to reinforce them. This is how a thought becomes a neural pathway. This is how a pathway becomes a pattern. And this is how a pattern becomes a personality. When you awaken, you may not feel different at first. Transformation rarely announces itself with fireworks. It is subtle, like light slowly filling a room. But over time, you begin to notice things. A moment of calm where before there was frustration, a pause before an old reaction, a small sense of pride in doing what once felt impossible. These are not coincidences. They are the visible ripples of an invisible process, the psychology of change made tangible through behavior. Your conscious mind notices results. Your subconscious builds them in the dark. And every night, as you surrender to sleep, you enter the workshop where those blueprints are refined. There's an old saying, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. But what if we expanded that idea? What if the system you truly fall to is your identity? Your habits may falter, your motivation may fluctuate, but your self-concept, your sense of who you are, becomes the anchor that guides you home. That's why people who see themselves as runners run, not because they're forcing discipline, but because it feels like who they are. That's why artists create, teachers teach, and healers heal, because their actions flow naturally from their self-story. So ask yourself, what is the story you tell about you? And more importantly, is it still true? There is no shame in discovering that your story is outdated. In fact, it's a sign of growth. You are not meant to carry the same identity forever. You are meant to evolve, to shed, to rewrite. Like a snake releasing its old skin, you are allowed to outgrow the version of you that once felt safe. The mind, too, can molt. It can release beliefs that no longer serve its expansion. And sleep, the nightly death and rebirth, gives you the space to do so gently. Each night, as consciousness dissolves, you have a chance to loosen your grip on the old. You have a chance to say, quietly, I'm ready for something new. And your brain listens. Your nervous system adjusts. Your dreams begin to whisper the blueprint of your becoming. Sometimes the change begins simply by watching your own thoughts, by seeing how often you repeat stories that limit you, by catching phrases like, I'm just not that type of person, and asking softly, who told me that? Often, those identities were given to you by family, by society, by moments of pain. They were not chosen, they were inherited. But now, as you grow conscious, you become the author. You decide which beliefs to keep and which to return to the earth. That is the essence of identity-based transformation. To no longer live as a collection of old conclusions, but as a deliberate creation. And every night you sleep, your brain works with you, solidifying what you choose to believe and letting the rest fade into quiet. So, as you listen now, perhaps allow yourself to feel the wonder of it all, that inside your skull, billions of neurons are dancing, forming new partnerships, dissolving old ones, conducting the silent symphony of your becoming. No effort is wasted. No moment of awareness is lost. Every time you choose differently, even if imperfectly, you are carving a new path. And tonight, as you rest, those paths will begin to strengthen. Your dreams will rehearse them. Your subconscious will nurture them. So when you awaken tomorrow, you will not only feel more rested, you will be slightly rewired, not by force, but by nature, because change is what the brain does best. Remember, you are not just breaking habits, you are becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to. You are shifting from trying to doing, from doing to being, and from being to becoming. The work is subtle, the transformation is quiet, but it is happening, even now. So let this truth settle deep into your awareness. Your habits are not who you are. They are who you practice being. And tonight, you are practicing someone new. So as you rest now, let us plant new seeds. Seeds that your brain can water and grow while you sleep. Seeds that will take root quietly in the garden of your subconscious mind. You don't have to force them to grow. You only have to listen and allow. The soil of your mind is fertile tonight. Every thought you tend to with care will find its way to the light. Perhaps you've carried old patterns for years, loops that replay like familiar songs, beliefs that whisper, "This is just who I am." But even the oldest song can be rewritten. Even the deepest root can reach toward a new direction. So together, we'll breathe in renewal and breathe out everything that no longer serves. Each inhale brings in space. Each exhale releases what is ready to leave. Feel your breath as gentle waves. With every rise and fall, your mind softens its grip. It becomes receptive, open, luminous. Now, as you hover between waking and dreaming, you can begin to whisper to your own mind, not commands, not pressure, but invitations. I am capable of change. Let it settle inside you like sunlight on warm soil. Change does not happen to you. It happens through you. It is the natural rhythm of life itself. Every night, my brain rewires to support the habits I choose. Neurons stretch like vines toward the direction of your focus. The more you nurture them, the stronger they grow. Your brain is always listening, always learning, even now. I am not my old patterns. I am the one who creates new ones. Old pathways may remain, but new ones are forming, gentle, bright, alive with possibility. Rest deepens my growth. Sleep makes me stronger. While you dream, your mind rehearses the life you are building. It strengthens what you love. It softens what you release. I trust the process of transformation. Trust is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. You do not need to see the whole path. You only need to take the next breath. Each morning, I awaken a little more aligned with who I want to be. Each sunrise finds you wiser, lighter, clearer. The difference is subtle but real, like a tide that moves slowly, yet shapes entire shores. As you listen, imagine your brain like a vast constellation of light. Billions of tiny stars, each one a neuron. When you think a thought, a spark leaps between them. A new connection, a new possibility. The more often you repeat a thought, the brighter that constellation becomes. And tonight, you are choosing which constellations to illuminate. You might picture your old thoughts dimming, softly fading into the distance, while new patterns shimmer into being. Every affirmation you hear is a spark. Every spark becomes a path. And soon, those paths will feel familiar, natural, effortless. This is the quiet artistry of neuroplasticity. It doesn't demand, it listens. It reshapes through repetition, emotion, and rest. So tonight, let emotion guide the wiring. Feel gratitude for your own capacity to change. Feel tenderness toward the parts of you still learning. Feel awe at the intelligence that beats your heart and heals your mind without you asking. Now, allow your inner voice to become gentle. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love. I forgive myself for the times I resisted growth. I release the belief that I must struggle to evolve. I am safe to outgrow my old self. I honor the lessons that shaped me, and I let them rest. Each phrase unbinds a thread of tension. Each word gives your nervous system permission to exhale. You do not need to fix everything tonight. You only need to rest in the direction of healing. Imagine your worries dissolving like ink in water. Each thought disperses until only clarity remains. Stillness returns. Peace expands. Now that the soil of your mind is clear, let us plant the new patterns you wish to grow. I wake up eager to meet the day. My habits align with my higher intentions. My energy replenishes as I rest. I treat my body with patience and kindness. I nourish my mind with thoughts that uplift me. I honor my boundaries without guilt. I am consistent because I am connected. Discipline flows easily when it comes from love. Visualize each affirmation as a seed dropping into rich soil. They glimmer softly, taking root. In sleep, they grow unseen, and by morning, they rise quietly to meet the sun of your awareness. As you drift deeper, imagine walking through a wide open field at dusk. The air is cool and golden. The horizon glows with the last light of day. Each step you take leaves behind a faint trail of luminous footprints, symbols of new neural pathways being formed. In the distance, you see shapes of your future self, versions of you already living the habits you long for. One is calm and focused, another is radiant with health, another laughs easily, no longer carrying the weight of old worry. You walk toward them, and they do not feel far away, because they are not separate from you. They are the echoes of who you are becoming. You merge with them one by one, feeling each integration as warmth spreading through your chest. The brain loves this feeling. It encodes emotion faster than logic. Every breath of peace is another signal. Yes, this is safe. Yes, this is who I am now. Now let these affirmations flow again, this time slower, softer, deeper, as though they're being spoken from within your own heartbeat. I am capable of change. Change feels natural to me. My brain rewires with kindness and patience. Each breath resets my nervous system. I rest deeply, and my rest restores my mind. Every thought of gratitude strengthens new connections. Every small action becomes easier with practice. I choose habits that serve my peace. I move through life with calm consistency. Sleep is my ally. Dreams are my teachers. Tomorrow, I will awaken renewed. Let these phrases loop quietly inside you. If the mind wanders, that's perfect. Even wandering thoughts travel along the new pathways being built. What matters is the feeling of safety, the rhythm of repetition, the awareness that you are already changing. Imagine light moving gently through your brain, from the base of your skull up to the crown of your head. It travels through every corridor, touching each network with calm golden energy. This is the language your brain understands best: calm focus, emotional truth, gentle repetition. In this state, neurons open like flowers, connections strengthen, patterns realign. Your inner world becomes a living garden of intention. I rest in harmony with my purpose. I am whole, even as I evolve. I allow sleep to carry me into alignment. I am grateful for the quiet intelligence within me. Gratitude is the final nutrient for change. When you thank your brain, it relaxes. When it relaxes, it learns. And now, before you drift fully into sleep, one more wave of gentle truth. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are unfolding on time. You are not lost. You are learning your own map. Each night, your mind rewrites a code of who you are. Each dream adds a brushstroke to the portrait of your becoming. So rest, knowing that even in stillness you are in motion. Rest, knowing that your body and brain are allies. Rest knowing that every moment asleep is sacred work. I am safe to rest. I am safe to grow. I am safe to dream. I am ready for renewal. Now, let go completely. Drift into the rhythm of your own breath. Let the words dissolve into silence, because tonight the seeds have been planted, and by morning, without effort, they will begin to bloom. Even as you dream, your brain is practicing, quietly, silently, faithfully. While your body rests, your mind continues its sacred rehearsal. Beneath the stillness of your breath, neurons are alive, firing, connecting, reshaping. They do not sleep the way your muscles do. They learn even in silence. They rehearse your life. Research in neuroscience has revealed something astonishing. When a pianist imagines playing a song, the same regions of the brain light up as when they touch the keys. When a runner visualizes a sprint, the motor cortex fires as though the body is already in motion. When you picture yourself changing a habit, waking earlier, eating with awareness, speaking with calm, your brain begins to map it as reality. The subconscious does not wait for morning. It begins now. In the space between waking and sleep, your mind slips into an immersive simulation of who you believe you are or who you are becoming. Dreams are not random. They are your brain's theater of memory, emotion, and prediction. Each night, the mind gathers scenes from your day, thoughts you repeated, emotions you felt, images you dwelled upon, and it weaves them into rehearsal. Sometimes that rehearsal is symbolic, wrapped in stories of flying, falling, or searching. Other times it is subtle, nearly invisible, a tone of confidence, a whisper of calm, a sense of ease returning where tension once lived. This is the habit loop in dreams, your sleeping mind practicing the patterns that your waking mind believes in. Imagine that your brain is a vast landscape of pathways. Every thought travels one of these trails. Some are wide highways, the habits you use daily. Others are narrow footpaths, barely formed, waiting for attention. When you think something repeatedly or feel something intensely, your brain marks that trail as important. It wraps it in myelin, an insulating sheath that makes the connection faster, stronger, easier. This is how habits are born. During sleep, the brain reviews these pathways. It asks, almost wordlessly, what should I keep? What should I prune? What should I strengthen? If your days are filled with self-doubt, worry, or distraction, those circuits will glow bright. If your evenings end with reflection, gratitude, and vision, those pathways begin to expand instead. The mind does not judge. It simply strengthens what you repeat. And that is why the moments before sleep and the dreams that follow are so powerful. They're the final notes your brain hears before it begins its nightly symphony of rehearsal. Dreams speak in metaphor because the logical mind has gone quiet. Instead of language, they use image. Instead of argument, they use emotion. You might dream of climbing a staircase, each step a small victory over resistance. You might see water flowing freely after being blocked, a symbol of release. You might meet a stranger who feels like an older, wiser version of yourself, a guide drawn from the depths of your own consciousness. These stories are not meaningless. They are the subconscious practicing emotional flexibility, problem solving, and identity shifts. Each symbol is a rehearsal for waking life. So when you set an intention before sleep, even something simple like, I want to wake up with peace, your mind begins to craft stories around that intention. It imagines scenarios that allow you to practice peace. And in those quiet simulations, the neurons responsible for calm and clarity strengthen their bonds. What if you treated every dream as a rehearsal for your future self? Not as a puzzle to decode, but as an experience to embody. You can invite this process consciously. As you lie down, close your eyes and breathe slowly. Tell yourself, tonight I will dream as the person I am becoming. You don't have to force any image. You don't need to see a movie in your mind. Simply allow the feeling of that identity to rise. The version of you who already wakes refreshed, who follows through with ease, who feels calm in conversations that once felt heavy. Let that version drift closer, like a familiar presence beside you. Your subconscious will take it from there. It will begin weaving stories that match that identity. In those dreams, you might be teaching others, exploring new places, or simply feeling capable, all reflections of your evolving self-concept. When you wake, the boundary between dream you and real you softens. Your brain cannot easily tell the difference between imagined rehearsal and lived experience. So the confidence you felt in the dream lingers. The habits you practice there become slightly easier in daylight. Each night builds upon the last. Every habit follows the same pattern: cue, routine, reward. During the day, the cue might be a feeling, a place, or a time. At night, cues come from memory and emotion. If you end your day with guilt or frustration, those cues trigger loops of worry even in dreams. But if you end your day with a simple affirmation, I am learning, I am evolving, I am safe to change, your brain takes that as the cue instead. And the dream becomes the routine. It practices, it simulates, it strengthens, and the reward, the gentle feeling of possibility that greets you upon waking. That subtle thought, maybe this time I can. Repetition deepens the loop. Each night of intentional dreaming layers another thread of wiring until, one morning, the habit feels almost natural. What once required discipline begins to flow with ease. Think of your conscious mind as the director and your subconscious as the actor. The director sets the intention. The actor performs the rehearsal. When you fall asleep, you hand the script to your subconscious. It studies, improvises, experiments. It explores outcomes your waking mind might be too cautious to attempt. In dreams, fear loses its grip. You might speak more freely, move more boldly, feel more connected. Those emotions are the rehearsal, the practice of feeling safe and expansion. When morning light returns, that rehearsal translates into micro changes. You hesitate less before speaking truth. You reach less for distractions. You choose calm more easily. It's subtle, but consistent. This is how the dreaming mind partners with the waking self, not in grand leaps, but in nightly whispers of practice. When you wake tomorrow, you may not remember your dreams. That's okay. The rehearsal still happened. The pathway still strengthened. You might feel a vague sense of clarity, a quiet readiness. That's evidence of rewiring. To anchor it, take a moment in the morning to acknowledge it. A single breath. A single phrase. My brain practiced my becoming last night. This recognition tells your subconscious that its work matters. It closes the loop between dream and daylight. Over time, this dialogue between sleeping and waking selves becomes seamless. Day influences night. Night reshapes day. This is neuroplasticity at its most elegant, the cycle of creation and reinforcement that never truly stops. The ancient philosophers often wrote about dreams as messages from the soul. Modern neuroscience now calls them messages from memory. Yet both were pointing to the same truth. Your inner world speaks to you in symbols, inviting you to participate in your own evolution. When you understand this, every night becomes sacred. You begin to honor rest as a creative act. You stop seeing sleep as the absence of effort and start seeing it as the birthplace of change. And when you combine intention with rest, science with spirit, you awaken the full power of neuroplasticity, the bridge between thought and form. So tonight, as you drift deeper, remember that your dreams are not idle. They are rehearsals, and rehearsal builds reality. Your brain is sculpting even now, laying down the foundations for habits aligned with your highest vision. You are rehearsing courage. You are rehearsing peace. You are rehearsing the art of becoming. Let this awareness cradle you. Let it hum quietly beneath the rhythm of your breath. And as you surrender to sleep, know this: the self you long to be is already practicing within you. Every dream, a repetition. Every repetition, a rewiring. Every rewiring, a quiet miracle of growth. Sleep now. As your body grows heavier, as your breath softens, and your mind floats between waking and dreaming, remember this truth. You are not stuck. You are rewiring. The brain you wake up with tomorrow will not be the exact brain you had today. Sleep is sculpting it. Dreaming is reshaping it. Your affirmations are planting new roots. Rest tonight in the knowledge that transformation is not only possible, it is already happening. Each night, you are becoming. Each morning, you awaken closer to the self you are choosing to be. So let go now. Let the day dissolve and surrender to the quiet power of sleep. Because the habits of tomorrow are being born in the dreams of tonight.